Well, today in the studio, I'm joined by Katherine Lameree.
Hi.
Now, Katherine, I asked you to clarify your working title, and your working title is model. But I'm led to believe so much more than that. Katherine, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
No, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
You've come highly recommended. Some previous podcast guests have spoken about all the things that you have done over the years. And I'm very interested to have you on today as somebody that has been in and around the automotive scene for a number of years and intricately involved behind the scenes, is my understanding.
Yes, absolutely. I've been not just a model. I have been an organiser of Downshift, which is one of the things, and I've been heavily involved in the automotive industry for 12 years.
So going back a little bit now, and that's what I understood because unlike many of my guests that I've had on here before, where I'm just like leaning on my friends going, hey, come on my podcast, I'm desperately trying to get some people to come on, and like it's a heap of work in the early days. But yeah, I've had people come on and go, yeah, you got to get Katherine in, you got to come and talk to her because yeah, you've been so integral behind the scenes because I've obviously known your personal profile and your promotional work and modelling work and those sorts of things that you've done. But I'm really keen to get to know what even drew you into this world. Take me back to a younger Katherine. How did we start this journey?
Oh, wow. Okay. Younger me was a little bit of a geek, a bit of a nerd, very shy, funny enough. And I recall a very distinct moment, and I saw Too Fast, Too Furious. And I saw the girls hanging around the cars, and I was like, I want to be like that. And then I did a bit of a dive because I had access to internet from a young age, and I discovered import models. And I wanted to be that. And my friends made fun of me for it. So I begged my parents to take me to a modelling agency. I was knocked back. And I put it on the back burner. But it was always in my mind. I wanted to be that girl. I just wanted to be that girl so badly.
Now, Too Fast, Too Furious is quite controversial in the Fast and Furious franchise. Look, it's probably not as bad. Tokyo Drift's all right. But it was a little bit confusing. The new main character we weren't really sure about. But yeah, it did introduce a lot of other characters to it. What year is this? I'm trying to put it together. Were you 04, 05? When did they crank that one out? I can't even remember.
I think it was 2005, 2006. Yeah, 2005.
Yeah, thereabouts. And how I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this. Still in school? Like, what was the broad?
I was fresh in high school.
Fresh in high school, around 05. So very influential time.
Yeah.
In a young person's life.
Absolutely.
And you're telling me none of your other friends thought that was cool?
No,
not down with that.
They shamed me. Oh, you just want to pose half naked on a car? Like, ew.
Really?
Yeah.
So none of that?
Yeah.
Whereas fast forward 2023, like, mate, that's a career choice.
Absolutely.
So you were actually ahead of the curve.
Oh, I wanted to be ahead of the curve, yeah.
And what about that scene and the cars and that sort of stuff? What drew you to that? Is there something that stands out to you? I mean, is there a family interest in cars? Or just something that just spoke to you?
Unfortunately, I didn't have the best upbringing with my family. I moved out quite early.
Right.
And what kind of dove me into the car scene was just watching people on a Thursday night on the Sunshine Coast driving around. And I just loved it. And I saw myself looking up S2000s on car sales. And then finally fell in love with the GDR. And I just wanted to know more. And my first job was at a car dealership. I applied at a car dealership because I wanted to know more.
And the GTR, is that something you ended up purchasing or that was just something that you fell for?
No, it's just something I fell for. It was just like, I like this culture. I like these cars.
And you've got to clarify here for us, 32, 33, 34.
34.
34? Oh, there you go. That's iconic.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if you were more of a boat person or more of an original or an R31, maybe one for the classics. We've got to clarify these things. These are the really important questions that we ask on this show. These are the big ones that we ask. And I guess so part of that sense of community as well. Was that part of the draw for you? Because you mentioned, the Thursday nights and the people getting together and the...
Yeah. So I eventually came into the scene from... when I was working at the dealership. There was obviously car lovers there, apprentice mechanics, and I became friends with them because we were around the same age. And a particular guy at the time took me out in his S13 and he just introduced me to all his friends, and then it just kind of snowballed from there.
And what was the dealership? Was that a Nissan dealership by chance? Or?
Yeah.
It was. There you go. There you go. You can join the dots there.
Yeah.
So a Nissan dealership in an S13 out to the sunny coast. And where was sunny coast cruising based for you? Were you hot lapping
Mount
Bar
Me
with Sharpie or Mount Me?
Mount Me.
Mate, you're up in the hills.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was that scene like?
Different. I learnt a lot. I knew nothing about cars. So I had to pick up just from watching and asking questions.
And what did you learn from that first night out?
That I loved it. I prayed to God that night. I'm not religious, but I came out at the other end going, I love this. I love this so much.
And anyone that's got the bug like you and I do, I think we all get that.
Yeah.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to people who don't get it. But for those of us that get it, you just can't help it, can you?
No.
It's just your jam. And
Yeah.
You just want to be around it.
Yeah.
And so what happened next?
So I moved on to an ex-boyfriend. So he was heavily into the scene. He's a pretty prominent figure. And I used to go to the original JDMST meets.
Here we go. Here's where we can see stories crossing over.
Yes.
Because and again, for people that don't know what you're talking about and don't understand that acronym, back it up and explain that for people.
Oh, gosh. It was a meet at a car park. And I think word got around from Boost Cruising, I believe, from what I knew. And I just tagged along and loved it.
Because they were the mates that, so Justin Fox kicked that off out of Sydney, and then Matthias up here in Brisbane was reasonably instrumental in getting those off the ground.
Yeah.
And so you were coming down from the sunny coast.
Absolutely.
In your own vehicle at this point? Or
No, I still didn't have a license.
Yeah?
No.
Mate, you're not taking this car thing very seriously yet. What's going on here?
I didn't have the utilities to get my license. So, 16, working as doing a business traineeship at a car dealership, not living at home, supporting myself. I didn't have the funds for a car, let alone lessons.
Full on. So you'd left school by that point?
Yes.
And undertaken a traineeship?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Because when did you step out? Was that grade 10 or?
I stepped out in grade 11.
Grade 11.
Yeah.
And picked up a traineeship. Was that through the dealership?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hard yards.
Yeah. I had to, so too much information, but.
No, man, we're here for too much information.
So I actually emancipated my parents. So in order to get government support and get a rental at the age of 16, 17, you can't sign a contract. So I had to legally declare myself as an adult in order to do so. So a lot of the tools that a lot of people had to get their learners, I didn't have. I didn't have a car. I wasn't living with people. I couldn't get regular hours. So I had to enjoy it from a passenger point of view, which I was fine with.
Man, that's full on. Like
Yeah.
that is full on. I think about that at that age, and I think about my own mental faculties at that point, which weren't real sharp. To be dealing with those sort of challenges at that age by yourself without support, Like that's a lot for a young person.
Yeah, I had to grow up quick.
How did you even get guidance as in what to do? Because that's 9/10 of the problem is even knowing what to do next. How did you even figure out that was how you could make those steps?
I was always a switched on kid. So if I didn't know something, I would find out how.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you just go and chase down the information.
Yeah.
Ask people.
Yeah.
Because did you get much support? Was there, government support, external support, agencies, any of these things? All the stuff that people talk about now and go, these kids gone wild, that, or did you just have to literally figure it all out?
I had to kind of figure it out. Like even with school fees, I wanted to continue school. They're like, sorry, you can't pay the fee. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Was that a state school or?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
That's disgraceful, hey?
Yeah, it is.
They talk about No Child Left Behind and simultaneously go tough shit.
Yep. It was difficult.
That's pretty fucked.
Yeah, I would definitely say that, and I can understand why some kids go off the rails.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean...
You're so angry.
Yeah. Angry at the world.
Look, it makes me angry just thinking about it. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, that is maddening.
Yeah.
That's what's,
Yeah.
If you got no other options, the leftover choice is tough shit.
Yeah, and I think at the time, all I could get government assistance was $374 a fortnight.
Wow.
And my traineeship was chipping into that as well.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
See, man, this is a big story. But I mean, that's... It's so pressing with the things that we're facing today with... in our broader community with the struggles of young people that, are disenfranchised, not attached. And, these aren't new problems. These are, as a society, these are problems that we've created and that we need to address. And the fact that, there are people like yourself that, you've obviously found a way to make it work, but there's not much between finding a way to make it work and it falling over.
Oh, no. There's no room for mistake. No room at all. So I can understand why a lot of people go down that path of drugs, alcohol, because you feel like you can't make ends meet. You're stressed out, and you get to a point where, like, I was there myself, and it was like, why bother? Like, what am I doing? But I've always been stubborn and determined. And I still remember that girl who's like, I want to be her. And I always kept that in the back of my mind as a reassurance that one day I will be beyond this.
And that's pretty amazing. So that, what you saw in those films and like just that, I guess that confidence and that resilience and the sort of person that could have it all together to be able to do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
That sort of sat there as a...
It sat as a reminder.
Yeah, a bit of a guide for you.
Yeah.
Because I'm still trying to... So you managed to negotiate yourself a traineeship. So you've like literally just knocked on the door there and gone, I'm really interested in all this stuff.
Yeah.
Can I do something?
Yeah.
And they were good enough to let you in and...
Yeah, so they hired me as their receptionist.
Yeah.
And I was their receptionist and administration clerk for 5 years.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And I just went up the ranks as I...
And went up from there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You'd be a pretty bloody hard worker as compared to
Oh, yeah.
some of the people that didn't quite work as hard for it as you did.
I don't think people realise. So when I got this job, I was living in Keels Mountain and I had to walk an hour to the bus to exactly where Daniel Morecambe was adopted from.
Shit a brick, really.
At 16, 17, and catch the bus for half an hour, get to the dealership, work all day, come back, walk another hour uphill. You've got to work hard.
Mate, that's... and that was for years.
About 18 months.
About 18 months of doing that.
Yeah.
And dealership life is pretty full on. I've lived on the inside of that too.
Yeah.
And that's a busy place because they start early, they finish late, they work weekends.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. I appreciate, but like, I really appreciate you sharing these things with us because, you know, I look at the confident person sitting across from me here, and to just meet you today, I'd have no concept of how, you know, you've developed yourself.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you sharing that. Like, that's full on.
It is. I don't talk about it enough.
No.
And I should.
Well, it's really important because I don't think people appreciate what it takes to make something of yourself. Like, they you know, from not knowing you, they'd go, oh, well, you know, genetically blessed, decides to be a model, models, does well.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the bouncing ball from the outside and not understanding these things, there's no concept of how much you have pushed yourself to make these things happen, and that, you know, there was no leg up there.
Oh, absolutely
You know,
not.
that's a girl.
Yeah.
You know, you are pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And at that age,
Yeah.
where most people are, you know, stuffing around, going to parties.
I mean, I did that. But
Look, I'm sure that you did, but simultaneously,
responsibility went first.
you know, without getting dropped off and just calling mum and dad to come and get you, and, you know, maybe working a couple of hours a week at Macca's, you know, before you go and do something else. Like,
I
mate,
never had that luxury.
yeah, there's none of that rubbish. Like, this is,
Yeah.
like, they're even walking an hour to a bus. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
this sounds like my parents' generation.
Yeah.
You know, we walked uphill both ways in the snow with no shoes, with the Catholics throwing rocks at us. But I mean, man, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
And even worse, given, you know, what happened in that area.
Yeah.
Like, that's proper.
Yeah, I hated it, but it was what I had to do. I just didn't have a choice. I at the time, I never really thought about it that way, but when I sat back and kind of unraveled what I went through, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
no other 17-year-old would be doing that every day.
Shit. Oh, absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. And having to make such adult decisions at such a young age without additional guidance,
Yeah.
I think that's something that's hard to understand the magnitude
Yeah.
of a, you know, you're still legally a child,
Yeah.
you know, in the eyes of the law,
Yeah.
and you have to make those decisions. How do you even, so you ended up getting your own rental place?
Yeah, I did.
And again, explain to me, like, how on earth do you even do that the first time around? I mean, think how hard it is for a person, you know, it's hard for people with two incomes. There's people sleeping in their cars at the moment because they can't, and you had to figure that out as a 15-year-old.
So I eventually got my own place at 17 with this sounds like such a trauma story before Australian Idol.
Oh, man. But
So I actually got on with my ex-boyfriend.
yeah.
And this particular ex was abusive, and I couldn't get him to pull his weight. So I managed to get a unit that I was paying $280 a week. And that was a private rental because I convinced them that I could take care of a place. I couldn't get one through a real estate agent because I wasn't legally allowed to sign a contract, even with the emancipation of my parents. So, yeah, I managed to get a place with him, and then we just tried to make ends meet.
And even worse, that he wasn't doing the right thing by you.
Oh, absolutely not. But that's a long story.
And look, I'm sure that is. And, you know, I'm not here to open old wounds or anything like that. I'm not here to, you know, make you talk about things you don't want to talk about. But it certainly paints a picture of somebody who's really been fighting uphill.
Oh, God, yeah.
And just the complexities, because what you're talking about here, so my wife has worked for 20 years in social services. And so my wife has worked with disadvantaged children and young people for best part of 2 decades. And I'm sad to say I've heard a lot of pretty horrible stories. And what's really sad is that stories like yours are very common, and that the disadvantage, but then also the young person working so hard, but then a partner, you know, coming in and creating that sort of unpleasant environment
Yeah.
all over again and making it harder again is I'm really sad to say that that's actually, something that happens far too much.
Yeah, it
particularly
does.
to younger people
It does. I think,
who are vulnerable and just need help and support.
yeah, well, he was actually the same age as me, but he was from a very similar background family-wise. And I think we just fell into the trap, the emotional trap of going back to what you had been exposed to.
Correct, yeah.
And just that vulnerable side where, you both are hurting internally and taking it out.
Yeah, because you don't have mechanisms.
No.
And you fall back to patterns that
Yeah.
you've potentially witnessed.
Yeah.
And then people all go, oh, how does this happen? And you go, well.
Yeah. It's a very easy trap, in inverted commas, to fall into.
Well, because you've got a vulnerability there, and then you've got somebody that also understands. They have lived experience.
Yeah.
Whereas, I comparatively, I had a very privileged upbringing, with my mum and dad, despite any complaints I might have. They're not founded in anything like that.
Yeah.
Where there's obviously attached trauma. And this is something that, again, the people that don't have the lived experience, they don't understand that generational trauma.
Yeah. It plays a massive part.
Huge, because there is, in those formative years, and I was listening to a fella speak about this the other day, and he said basically if you don't have a child feeling loved, nurtured and cared for by the time they're 4, you've lost them.
Yeah, right.
I know. And that was because he's speaking specifically about, a lot of the issues that we have at the moment. And, the answer isn't late intervention. The answer is early intervention.
Oh, absolutely.
And trying to help sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Whereas at the moment, there are actually no good solutions.
No.
With a lot of these things.
No.
Is even worse. So you managed to get that place to live.
Yeah.
Was that a bit close to the dealership?
No. No, because, at least I wasn't walking as much. But the bus service was at least closer to the house, at least.
Far out.
I managed to get a transfer to a closer dealership in their franchise. And so it was kind of a promotion. So I was like the lead receptionist almost for their head office. And I kind of just started expanding from there.
And what did the lead receptionist have to do? For people that don't know dealership world, talk us through that.
Well, I was the only one on their front desk, and sly brag, but no one can ever replace me there.
Solid.
They tried, but I don't think anyone could deal with the phones. That phone I tallied one day, and it rang 300 times a day. And I would answer it with a smile every time.
I'll bet you did.
Yeah. But it was good. And then I went into their administration department and learnt how to process deals, went into registrations. By then, I had left said ex-boyfriend and wanted to become and explore being a model again. And so I decided to get a portfolio done, and I went into promotional work for extra money.
There you go.
Yeah.
And talk to me about that. So, again, for people that have never had a portfolio done, like me, I really should get one done, actually. How does that process even work?
So I had to book a photographer. Now, back then, Instagram wasn't a thing. Okay, so you didn't have this social media modeling self-representation that you do now. You'd have to get an agency to take you on, get your portfolio done, be listed in their books, and they'd reach out for you on the behalf of you for work. So that's the process. And you'd have to upfront those costs. So I put the money away, and I think it was $1,500. And I paid it off, and I wanted to get back into it. That was what I wanted to do. Sadly, that agency didn't really ever get work for me. I was too short.
Really?
Yeah. So usually the requirement for most modelling gigs is 160 something centimetres or 175. So catwalk. Like, this is still the old school view of models, you know. I was told to lose weight and tone up. Yeah.
And again, in the year 2023, where everyone is beautiful,
No.
people forget
Yeah.
real fast
Yeah.
the abusive nature
Yeah.
of that specific industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, so then I found a promotional agency and signed up with them, and I started doing alcohol promotions in the nightclubs.
Mate, that is the OG of promo, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Does that stuff still happen? Is that still
No.
a thing? Because it's probably
Not really.
that was back in the glory days
Yeah.
of misbehaving alcoholism in Australia,
Yeah.
where they'd have promotional people going, "Hey, try this fantastic thing."
Yeah.
Whereas I believe that's encouraging excess, which we don't do anymore either.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore. I mean, I was doing like Jägermeister, Midori, Jack Daniels, all of the fun things.
Yeah, and like that'd be great nights out.
Oh, it was.
That'd be pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
And was that Sunny Coast as well? Was
Yeah.
that up? And what's the hunting ground? Where do they send you?
240V. Ugh. It's the dingiest nightclub.
240. I don't even know that one. Where's that?
It's gone now.
Yeah, where was it?
Along the Esplanade.
Malilbar?
Yeah.
because that was like the pump, and there was like one or two.
And
clubs
Fridays.
there. Mate. Fridays. Fridays was actually pretty entertaining up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Well, 240V would be the place you go if you got kicked out of Friday.
Really?
Yeah, it
Okay,
was-
so that was
The floor was sticky.
Yeah, the floor was sticky.
Yeah.
Could you still smoke inside then? Was it still?
No, that was definitely
we're,
gone.
We're past that.
Yeah, we were past that.
Mate, people don't understand how bad that was.
Oh, no, thank you.
That's the worst. No, because Fridays up the Sunny Coast was actually a really good time. But yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So you were doing promo at those for those brands, and how long did you do that for?
I was doing it for about 9 months.
Yeah.
And then
Was that good work? Was it enjoyable, or was it kind of shitty? Or
No, it was good. It was good pay.
The inflections are telling me otherwise. but-
There's pros and cons to everything. Now,
bet.
it was fun, and I got to stay at like the nightclub after. Like,
yeah, okay.
hell yeah.
So it was a good night out.
Yeah, but not just that. There were high expectations of you. So, you had to make sure your nails were done, your tan was done, your makeup was done. You had to be held to a certain standard. And I still uphold that standard to most models today. Not in the sense of body type or shaming, but presentation is key. Yeah.
And the level of effort.
Yeah.
So more than and the detail, I guess. The attention to detail is probably the thing there.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
So that's what that taught you was the discipline.
Yes.
Of,
Yeah. Very much discipline.
wow.
Yeah.
And was that only ever Sunny Coast, or did they send you on further junkets?
I got onto a thing called Model Mayhem around the same time.
I remember Model Mayhem. That was like the thing, wasn't it? That was like the internet modelling
It was like modeling MySpace
thing.
almost.
Yeah, like modelling MySpace. Yeah, again, not really my place, but I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
And photographers I know, like going, it's on Model Mayhem.
Yeah.
I just remember that being a thing.
Yeah. Well,
Talk me through that. That's crazy.
Model Mayhem was essentially like MySpace for models, and they'd put out casting calls, and you could work with photographers for trade for print or just experience or paid work. And I managed to get in touch with a photographer who was in the car scene, coincidentally. So he actually took me out to Lakeside to do photos in front of the cars. And this was 2009? Yeah, about 2009. And I got photos in front of the cars then. And I knew it was my element because I always liked cars. And when he said, "Do you want to go out to Lakeside?" I was like,
That's my
yes.
jam.
Yeah, yes, please.
And what was that for? Was that just a...
Just for him.
Just for him, that was just what do they call that? My brain's not working. Like building portfolio type stuff or...
Not really. I think it was more so that he had a lot of connections and they always wanted a pretty girl with their car.
Okay. So they wanted the classic Hot Fours styled photo shoot.
Yeah.
With, Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's what kind of entered me into the world.
What was the car? Do you remember?
No.
No?
I was so excited to be there.
I didn't even... Too
reg-
focused on the job.
There were so many cars because it was one of the track days.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I was just going...
All the things.
Yeah, all the things. I was just so excited to be there.
That's very cool. And how did that day go? Did that go well?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I loved it, and that's when I wanted to know more. And
the shots came out well? Like, because I'm waiting for the story where you go, yeah.
To be honest, I never saw them.
Oh, really? Never even saw them?
If anyone has any from back then, I'd love to see them.
Katherine.
I've never seen them.
Seriously?
No.
How crazy. Mate, they're probably on Boost Cruising somewhere.
Probably buried on Boost Cruising.
Okay, so through Model Mayhem, you got yourself onto that.
Yeah.
And
then I did a magazine. I did Zoo.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I was Web Babe of the Week.
What was it? Web Babe of the Week.
Yeah,
and how did they find you? Or did you submit or?
You submit in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were Web Babe of the Week.
Yeah.
Mate, that is
amazing.
But again, in the sequence of time, and I don't say this to make fun. I say this as a person, climbing the ranks.
Yeah.
That's a big moment.
Oh, I thought it was amazing.
You're just some person trying to make a mark.
Yeah.
And again, for people that don't know the world pre-Instagram, to get yourself into a magazine in whatever your interest was a really big deal. And it was a very high hurdle to get over. And I think that it's hard to state in this day and age how difficult it was and how high the barrier to entry was.
I felt like if you didn't know someone, you weren't getting in.
Absolutely.
You had to network. So,
and that was a national mag as well.
Yeah. I was very stoked.
That is super stoked. And was that a good shot? Was that because that was self-submitted, so it was one that you were like totally stoked with?
My photographer who took me to Lakeside did a beach shot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it was of high quality.
Of high quality. And did they give you some decent real estate?
No.
No. Okay. So you just got like the top.
I just got like a sidebar.
Passport size photo? Or
it was like half-page vertical.
Oh, man, half-page vertical is pretty good.
Yeah, but the section is next to where they like people submit questions. And next to it is I think my girl's a homophobe. I was like, this is not me. It's not me. Separate question.
And again, this is the joys of speaking about the world prior in the year 2023. It's very hard to describe how much it's changed.
It's wildly different.
Because it's not even a big jump of time. That's the funny thing. It's not that long ago.
No.
And the fact that would be printed as well. Yeah. You're going crazy. Okay, so that was your first dash of national publicity?
Yeah.
Because, mate, that would have been everywhere. Because Zoo Mag, and again, for people that didn't know, that was a lads mag, I guess they would refer that to.
Yeah.
So aimed at I think it was probably like a 15 to 35 type audience was sort of the demo, if I remember that reasonably correctly.
Yeah, because there was no nudity.
No, it was so bikini styled sort of stuff. And what happened after that? Did that help get you a little bit of notoriety?
It did. It gave me a big confidence boost, that's for sure. Yeah.
Because that would have been massive.
Oh, I was over the moon.
And tell me about the day when you went to the newsagent to go and find it. Did you do the dash down to buy the mag?
Yeah.
It's all right. There's no shame in this. I've done the same thing. First time I was featured in a mag, I'm like, they're the day, and they're like, mate, it hasn't come out
I'm in
yet.
it.
Like,
I'm
settle
in
down.
it.
And I'm like, oh, I did this thing. And like, you're so excited to see like in print.
Yeah. I all the guys, because I was still working at the dealership.
Oh, croggy.
So all the mechanics.
Oh, mate. Oh, they were like the target audience of ZooMag.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
So I heard all about it.
Mate, you would have been a superstar of the dealership.
Yeah. They didn't expect it from me.
Oh, really?
Nah.
So they didn't even see it coming. They had no
Nah,
idea.
nah.
And then you just like, what's up? You just
Yeah.
walk in one day, or even better, did they find it? And
They
then
found
go,
it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
It was quite funny.
That is so funny.
Yeah. So it was like little girl next door me doing this. And they're like, whoa.
Answering 300 phone calls a day
Yeah.
at a dealership
Yeah.
head office.
Yeah.
And now ZooMag superstar.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I honestly thought I was going further with that, but it kind of went stagnant. I still was doing my promotions and bikini waitressing on top of that.
Well, we've got to open that door. You can't just drive past that. Where on earth do you do bikini waitressing? Is this like a...
At the pubs.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of the pubs back then would do like Friday afternoon bikini waitresses.
Seriously?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mate.
And the agency would do that.
Okay, so that, and then that's part of... So like the promo,
Yeah.
the drink promo stuff, they would organise,
Yeah.
people to come and resource that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. You would make a bucket load of tips.
Really?
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's when I was like, hey,
Yeah, this is good.
this is great money. Like, I'd get to keep the tips. I'd get paid an hourly rate.
Amazing.
And,
And you're like... And it's... equally bad as answering 300 calls a day at a dealership.
Yeah.
You know, you're answering 300 stupid questions on
oh, yeah.
an hour, I'm sure, there. Maybe. No, a couple of those? Or,
Yeah, a lot of that.
Couple of those?
A lot of that.
Smooth moves.
Yeah. I cringe every time I think about it, to be honest.
But see, it
was worth it.
But it does. And I can also see how these things that you've done, there's a pattern in your work of professionalism and resilience that I'm picking up on, where you have gone and done these things and you have done them to the very best of your ability and you've done them with a smile on your face. And by putting in that work and that discipline, that has then prepared you for the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the pattern that I'm picking up here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I had the first opportunity of going to Power Cruise with the agency. And I did that. And I was like, yes, this is my foot in the door.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Because again, if you want to explain Power Cruise to people that have no idea what that means, hit us with a little bit of that.
Power Cruise is a multi-day event and quite rowdy. Not the typical Japanese car scene, a lot of muscle car, burnouts, bogans. But it is a good day.
It's like travelling summer nats, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, essentially, summer nats on wheels.
Yeah, summer nats on wheels. If you really want to try and distill it down, I was trying to think of how do you explain that.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of like that. The big power skids and, as you said, big power, old school stuff.
Yeah. So I got to work there and I was like, yes, this is amazing.
And what did you have to do there?
Sell calendars.
Calendars.
So my agency had a competition and they'd put out a yearly calendar of their girls who were like the highest performers. And you'd have to sell that calendar.
And you were in that?
No.
Oh, so you weren't even, and you could be like, hey, I missed January.
I did get there eventually.
You? Okay, but not that time around.
Not that time around.
So that's brutal.
Yeah, it hurt.
Sell the calendar that you're not in.
I got that question, are you in it? And I was like, sadly, no, but this
Maybe
girl's
next
hot. But I did eventually get to go in it.
Mate, what were they selling a calendar for back then? What's a calendar worth?
$30.
$30 for a calendar? And this is the funniest thing. How, these are things that you just don't see to the same. Because again, back in the mechanic trade.
That Worth calendar though?
Oh, mate, the Worth calendar, the Pirelli calendar, if you've ever stumbled across that, I don't think they do that anymore.
No, they do.
High art, but yeah.
No, the Pirelli calendar still exists.
Still exists?
Still exists.
Spicy.
Yeah. but I don't think the Worth one does.
Yeah, no, they've had to sort of tone a bit of that down. Doesn't really comply with HR anymore.
No.
So you were unfortunately not in that calendar, but
Yeah.
you were there.
Shortly after. So I
selling-
think it was the next year.
The next year. Oh, so
Yeah.
you got into it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty awesome. But
Yeah.
again, brutal. That's really savage. Do you think the agency did that on purpose to like try and G you up?
Yeah,
Little bit?
they weren't always good to their staff.
Weren't they?
Nah.
That's a fairly familiar
Yeah.
agency modelling story.
Yeah.
Because again, they could get away with criminal behaviour back in the good old days.
A
if
lot,
you
yeah.
cast back to pre-internet and you look at all the people that get in trouble now for the things that they were doing in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and
Yeah, definitely.
and there was a real hierarchy and gatekeeping and all sorts of awful things.
Yeah.
That the young aspirational people would be told, well, to get to the next level,
Yeah.
guess what you've got to do now? You're like, ooh.
Yeah. I quit the agency literally after I got into the calendar.
There you go. So you didn't even have to sell your calendar.
I bootlegged some, but yeah.
But so some other poor girl had to sell it and go,
Yeah.
no.
The agency actually shortly went bust
Did they?
because I blew up. I have a tendency of doing that.
Good on you.
I call out unfair behaviour.
Yeah, and you gave it to them.
Yeah.
Really?
I even got threatened lawsuit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can we go down that rabbit hole?
I'm sure, why not?
Mate, send it.
The calendar was like a trip where you stay in the house and you get your calendar shots and you've got to do all like little challenges to get the cover model sort of thing. So
So they were like pitting you against each other,
yeah.
Big Brother style.
Yeah, and you know like the old competitions where you have the catwalk at the pub, at the nightclub, you got to wear the costume and then the bikini and you get judged, that kind of thing.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. I was particularly on a boat. We had a boat cruise and this gentleman who was a part of that boat propositioned me in inappropriate ways. I kept it, dealt with it, whatever. After this calendar was done, the winners weren't receiving their money. And I kicked up a stink. This particular person treated people awfully. Just talked down to people, pitted people against each other, just not what a manager should do. And a lot of us were like, hey, what's the go? And it just got worse and worse. And so we all made Facebook statuses about it. And she got cranky and I got issued a defamation letter. But luckily I have friends in high places.
And it's not defamation if it's true.
Literally. So I exposed what happened on that trip and how it all went down and how people were treated. And shortly after that, she floated away. The agency was gone. Haven't heard boop about it since. And this is when I decided to take everything into my own hands.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Because that's also brutal. Because when you receive your first, threatening lawyer type thing, I remember being really scared of those at one point. Because I've had people try to go to war with me.
Yeah.
And then I've come to realise that often it is just it's a real bully tactic.
Yeah.
And if you fucking throw down and send it back at them,
Yeah.
they don't expect that. What they expect is for you to panic
Yeah.
and go, oh, God, I don't know what to do now, and like, cower in fear.
Yeah.
But because you went,
Yeah.
mate,
Yeah.
you're a weapon, see?
Yeah.
Mate, they were right. They were not kidding. You're a weapon.
And mind you, this is what, 20-something-year-old me going,
Yeah. No, go and jam it up your ass. It's
Yeah.
like, this is not good enough.
yeah.
Wow.
So I decided to do it on my own
Good on you.
and source work myself. And that's when I started doing modelling at Downshift.
There you go. And hopefully much better people.
Yes, a lot better.
See, that's really nice. And how did you, so you linked into that obviously through the JDMST stuff, sort of made
I saw
with Downshift. Or was that even before? Was that early Downshift?
it was Downshift at Rockley.
Yeah.
I saw in one of the Facebook groups and Dan Sharp was looking for people.
Mr. Sharp himself, yes.
And because I actually had attended these meets before, I knew what they were about. I was like, I want to be there. So he accepted me, and I pretty much became a piece of the furniture of that event for several years.
And that was what I heard. I heard you were like just part of the downshift machine.
Yeah, I at one point I actually started running the events.
I heard that too.
Yeah, I held,
which I did not know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. Event management's not for me.
No, it's a pretty rough job. Like
I can't. I have a very low tolerance for people with no common sense.
that's going to get you in trouble, isn't it?
It has.
Particularly in large-scale event management.
Yeah, and that side of the car community tends to sometimes not show common sense.
Yeah, look, there are quite often lapses in judgment.
Yes.
Yes. More often from attendees.
Yeah, it's the attendees,
I would
not
have
the.
to assume. No, the bunch running it always try and do the right thing. But,
yeah, it's just the attendees. There's always one person to try to
there's
run
always
it.
some idiot. But look, we work hard to stamp them out and make an example of them. So.
Yeah. Oh, I did a very good job at that.
Oh, bloody bet you did. And that's the thing. Like when I think about the sheer volume of dickheads that you would have encountered, between the ages of 15 and 20 in all the work that you did, frontline at a dealership, promo work, like if you think about the tens of thousands of morons that you would have politely spoken to, you were really well trained for this.
Yeah, but I think my tolerance gave up.
Did it? It just snapped and it went, that's it. Fucking idiots. No.
I remember one, I think it was like a group of patrols at Sanford revving.
It's always the patrols.
Trying to do like a soot off. And I'm like, no one cares.
Come on, they've been told that diesel soot gets anyway.
No,
no. My wife's not impressed either. She's like, "You're an idiot." And I'm like, "Okay."
And I literally jumped a fence, ran over, and told him to fuck off.
You gave him hell. Good on you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's no room for that.
There's picture evidence of it too.
Good on you. Is it like Clarky jumps? I don't know if you.
There's just me running.
Moment of world time attack history, but
I think I was running in pluggers. Yeah. And there's a picture of me just running after these.
And telling him to get out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. In those early downshift days, what was that like for you? Because
so exciting.
Mate, this is the thing coming together. Was this you finding the dream? Was this it?
Yeah.
This was it.
Yeah.
So the girl who saw Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
She found the place.
Yeah, I was so pumped up for my first shift. I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is amazing.
We're on.
Yeah. And it led me so many opportunities.
I'll bet it did. And we should probably, we gloss over this because, we assume people know. But for people that have no idea what downshift is, would you like to explain that?
It's a monthly Brisbane, well, at the time, Brisbane, car meet at a showground.
And what sort of attendee level? How many people?
Oh, thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands.
And that's the thing that's hard to describe is if you're not familiar with it, these are big.
Yeah.
This isn't 10 people at Macca's car park. Like
No.
This is large scale community, automotive community engagement.
I think when I was running it, there would have been 700 cars. So like plus people, passengers and walk-ins.
Yeah, massive.
Massive. So it was a big opportunity for me to be seen.
And that's so cool because then that puts the two and two together because you were there in a promotional capacity. So wearing, the downshift gear.
Yeah.
And then also the opportunity to meet photographers, vehicles, and then that would have opened the door.
It did.
To opportunities.
It did.
Mate, tell me about that.
So I met a friend in that space of time and she got me on promo crew for Power Cruise and Jamboree. And that Jamboree was my first Jamboree. I was like, whoa, what is this?
Did you get a good hit of methanol the first time you went out?
Oh, yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way.
Man, how bad's that? Like when you start crying and you're like, what is wrong? You're like, oh,
your
it
nose
burns.
and your throat. Oh.
That's all I remember about my first.
I definitely remember that. And not wearing earplugs.
Ah, yes. Isn't that a rookie error as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So you've had the tears and the ears blown out.
Yeah.
But you got your first gig.
Yeah.
To do Jamboree, and what was that with it? That was actually with Jamboree itself. Or
No. It was my friend's partner's company at the time. I don't know if they still exist. Fat Fitment.
Okay. Yeah, I know the name actually. Yeah.
Simon Youssef. It's got an S15.
Nice.
So I participated in the bikini comp. And because I was already well experienced in bikini comps from previous, I got third.
Hey.
I was like, cool, love this. And then I networked to get onto the Jamboree team. And this is an approach that I've used my whole time since. People think that things are handed to me. Unfortunately, they are not. Sorry to break it to you. But I reach out to a lot of the companies that I have had the pleasure of working for. So I reach out, I do the hunting.
Really?
Yeah.
And see, that is something that, again, I don't think people would appreciate. They just see you there and they go, oh, well, the red carpet rolls out, it all just magically unfolds.
Definitely not.
Not at all. You're telling me it's all lies?
It is all lies.
Oh.
But in this process, I had to change from agency represented model to Instagram photographer, like gaining a following. Like, what was that?
Absolutely, because the early days of that was, who's your agency? Instagram? Like, remember when that was a joke?
Side note, sorry.
Please.
Agencies now require like minimum followings.
Yeah.
So like,
Isn't that the best part? They made fun of you for doing it.
Yeah.
And now it's a thing.
It's a minimum requirement.
Absolutely.
So
if you don't have like a certain number of followers,
they don't want you.
no, you're not big enough. You don't have enough reach.
Yeah. So I had to learn all of this while a lot of the younger generations were already on it.
Yeah, they're growing up with it.
I had to adjust. So I had to adjust from portfolio modeling to Instagram modeling, oversharing my life, which was really, really hard.
Because people don't understand how awkward that is. And,
yeah.
And what a conscious decision it is. If you've never gone down that path, that's something that requires effort.
Yeah.
That's not you're not just ripping those photos out when you wake up in the morning. That's orchestrated.
Yes.
Just to break the dream for everybody.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint you. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so I had to learn how to internet market myself. Did the Facebook page, did the Instagram page, and had to regularly post content. So I had to do a lot more shoots. I had to network a lot more. I had to source all the photos after being at an event so I could post them and track down these photos. By the way, sometimes not easy. And then now I'm at a stage where I've got a second phone. Like, I have to have someone take photos of me at the events. And then I do content days myself because I've got to keep posting. Not that I'm complaining because it's fun.
No, but people don't realise what a job it is.
Yeah.
And I've heard this, I see people go, 1320 or Donut or any of these, and they go, man, how cool would that be? And I'm like, I don't think you have any concept of how much work it is for people that, and in your game of modelling, to be taken seriously and to be a professional.
Yeah.
So it all has to be done top of its game. And again, you don't just walk out in the front yard and, fire off a few shots.
I wish.
Each thing, like, you've got to orchestrate shoots.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say? I feel like people think it's easy, but it's not. You've got to do a bit of a planning and a process and there's method. But not just that, you've got to stay professional as well.
All the time.
Yeah.
And you can't just be letting rip and having big rage blackouts on the internet. And
I mean, I have been guilty of it, but you have to learn from your mistakes. And I have come beyond that now.
And do me a favour, can you share some of the process? Like, how does it work? What is the process of, managing your identity?
Well, There's a lot involved. So like 10 days Thursday, make sure that my upkeep is always top notch. So nails, hair, pedicures. I know that sounds ridiculous,
Not
but
at
it
all.
makes a massive difference.
No, but that's the job.
Yeah.
You know, the same as somebody who prepares their car for a meet.
Yeah.
You know, mate, you're polishing, you're shining, you're detailing. Like it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the process, and there's no need to disrespect the process. And that's the thing you sort of say, because I'm sure that people would go, oh, make fun.
Quite literally,
But not at all. And I can see that.
Yeah.
And that feels like a defense mechanism to me where
it's an automatic.
where you immediately imagine people to roll their eyes and go, ugh.
Yeah.
But that is the job. That is the discipline. And I love that Thursday is tan day.
Yeah.
And is that like spray tan? This is
I do it myself now.
Yeah.
I've gotten a little bit more savvy with how I do things.
and cost management and process and workflow.
Yeah.
No, but this is amazing
Yeah.
because again, I'm not. Look at me, mate. I got a face for radio. So. I'm fascinated to understand what goes in to these things.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I can think of there is Jersey Shore, Gym Tan Laundry.
Very much so.
Mate, it's we can sort of dumb it down a little bit for that was the fellas. I always enjoyed that.
I love
because mate, you got to stay fresh to death.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But so that is so part of the process is you've got that built into a routine.
Yes.
So that is always managed. You don't have to think about it. It's just done.
It's done.
So that if work comes up, you're not suddenly going, oh God, I've got to.
Yeah,
X,
and
Y,
that's the
Z.
thing. You've got to stay on top of your game with that kind of thing because it will throw you all out. You need to be ready at all times to take a last minute job or, someone goes, hey, I've got this gig for you. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, can you step in?
Sure, but then you're panicking or you can't get a nail appointment or your hair's not that great.
Absolutely, I get that all the time.
I
I look in the mirror and then I go, nah, it's a hat day.
Yeah, there's no hat days.
No, you can't have a hat day, can you?
I can't have a hat day.
So Eli's having a hat day today.
Hell yeah.
He's had that exact thought process and gone, hat day.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work when, you are the product. And this is the wonderful complexity of understanding modelling.
Yeah.
And any sort of, say anybody that has, a TV role or a commercial role where you are the product.
Yeah.
How much goes into that, I think it's just astonishing. And that's why I'm interested. That's why I'm trying to, I guess, understand a little bit more about the day-to-day of this.
So obviously I was still working in dealership up until 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. So I had to juggle it.
Wow.
And I would juggle my annual leave with events.
To go and do all these other things.
Yeah.
Holy crap. So you're holding down a full-time dealership job.
Yeah.
So 6 days a week for dealership or did you score 5?
5 because I was a registration clerk.
Ooh,
and stock
lucky.
control.
And stock control, yeah. And again, they're crazy jobs all by themselves, just quietly.
Yeah. Well, end of month would be a no-go for me.
Man, end of month at a dealership.
Madness.
Chaos.
There's no time off there.
No.
It's a no from everyone.
Holy crap. Okay, so you were doing all these things while still holding that down.
Yes.
See, you're a machine. I get it.
I'm a workaholic.
Mate, you're a machine.
And on top of that, my personal life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't even looked into that because I'm still trying to understand what goes into be a model because I'm obviously doing the research here.
Yeah.
I need to. So hang on, I've got 2 days until tan day.
Yeah.
Because I can't even remember to get my hair cut is my biggest problem. I've realised that I'm like going just out of control. So yeah, I'm fascinated. Like I'm fascinated in the process of how much work goes into this. And like how much you've had to sacrifice to be able to do this.
Yeah, I sacrifice a lot. So, like my time off, my annual leave.
Was all to do more work.
To do more work. It was, I had to get my foot in the door somehow.
Because you're at everything. Yeah. I certainly acknowledge, and this is the thing, is even though we don't know each other, because we have like 100 mutual friends on Facebook, like I knew of you and I would see you pop up, as like the model at all the things.
Yeah.
Because you're at everything.
Yeah.
I had no concept that you'd also be working full time while doing all that stuff.
Yeah. So I would make that time.
No days off.
To get to World Time Attack, to get to Hot Import Nights, to get to Power Cruise, Jamboree, Winter Nationals. Like if I heard of an event, I would move heaven and earth to get there.
To be there. Because I even saw you were promoting, I think, Hot Import Nights. Did I see that correctly? That came up on the feed? That's something, because this is the thing, like it doesn't stop.
No.
You know, you're in doing a bit of media today. But you simultaneously, the machine just keeps going.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you step back, and this is probably something else people wouldn't appreciate, if you step back from that, if you need some time away, people forget you exist.
100%. And people don't realize that. You have to, like, as cliche as it sounds, you've got to stay relevant. You need to be at those events. Your face needs to be there. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be on Threads now. Like, you have to be on every social media platform.
Here's a sidebar for you. Is Threads working for you?
Not really.
No, man, it's like, remember Google Plus? That's what I reckon Threads is like at the moment. It's like a wasteland already.
Look, the first few days,
it was wicked.
It was amazing.
The level of excitement, and then it just fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
Because we're like, hang on, now I'm posting on another platform, and I'm not really getting anything different. It's pretty much the same people that already know me.
Yeah. And I have a high level of shit talk. I shit talk a lot. So,
because do you have a posting schedule? Do you run and do you automate, or do you?
No.
You do everything manually per platform?
It would make it a lot easier if I did, but I want to keep the genuine side. I don't want to become a robot with it, if that makes sense. Like, people are like, oh, whatever. But I genuinely want to be like, hey, I'm actually posting this. Instead of, I guess, the robotics of it, and then don't see people as people.
Because what are your follower stats?
40,000 on Instagram.
That's your stronger. That's your strongest.
Yeah, and then we have another platform. So, OnlyFans on top of that.
We'll see. I look at you blankly because I didn't realise.
Yeah.
And so that's something that you pursue as well?
Well, I made the decision to do that because I hated working for dealership by the end of it. I was in a high-capacity Toyota dealership, and they'd work you to the ground. And there was a pinpoint for me, and I had worked my ass off at end of financial year for them. And then they pulled me into the office about me being on my phone.
Are you serious?
I was like, I don't know if I could swear properly, but
fucking send it.
I was like, get fucked. Are you kidding me? I have stayed back every day, and you're concerned about my workload when they like heavily monitor your workload and deal processing. So they have logs, and I was doing like 150% of the work, and someone had the nerve to complain about me being on my phone. I was like, fuck this. Here's my resignation. I'm done. And I was like, fuck, what have I done?
What do I do now?
I had already started doing OnlyFans, and I made that mathematical decision because I had already made a yearly wage in the year of doing it.
Wow.
So I was like, well, if I can put 100% effort into this, I don't have to work for anyone.
Take it seriously. Well, that's it. And you take full control.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So not many people realise that I actually do OnlyFans on top of it.
No, I honestly had no idea.
There's I have got two ways of advertising it. So I do a different way, and then on my verified account I try not to. Only because brands can get super sensitive about it.
It's pretty touchy at this point in time.
Yeah.
Much the same. And I look at it as... You remember when companies wouldn't let you be on Facebook at work?
Yeah.
Remember that? And like they'd go to huge amounts of effort to block it so you couldn't be on it.
Yeah.
Whereas I look at, think back to 1990s Formula One cars with penthouse livery down the side, like on the Rizzler cars.
And Rothmans? Like cigarettes?
And I'm just there going, is this not just the same but different?
Yeah.
Like, is this not exactly the same? Like, were we offended by that? Like, that was punching darts and... mags of a similar persuasion.
Yeah.
No one was fussed about that.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden,
we care.
Mate, there's a high horse here, and we see it playing out in real time in Australian GT at the moment.
I know, and I'm in full support of her.
Mate, do you know what's funny? spoke to my wife and I was like, oh, Renee and the stuff that she does. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll follow her on TikTok. She's amazing.
Yeah.
So, like, my wife is like, that's the greatest.
The perception's changing and she is breaking down barriers because I had this experience.
Smashing them.
Where was it? I forget. Oh, I had this experience with someone prominent in the scene and they got a photo with me at an event. And because they were associated with manufacturers, they sent a message saying, you need to take that down. Why are you hanging out with a porn star?
Spicy.
I was like, I personally can't see the harm in it because I'm self-managing it. Like, it's not like back in the days where, you were mistreated or anything like that. It's definitely self-managed. Like, I dictate what I do.
And honestly, I think that the empowerment and the opportunity for women to have ultimate control over what is done, how it is distributed, how it is controlled, I think that is extraordinary.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think, honestly, that's what people are dirty about.
Yeah, because we have taken back the control.
Correct.
Yeah.
And nobody else can do a damn thing about it.
Yep.
And not only does it work, you see the benefit.
Oh,
I think that's what people are particularly pissed with Renee about.
Yeah.
Is anyone that's ever chased a bit of sponsorship knows how hard it is.
Yeah.
But again, she's worked at what she's done. Like, it hasn't happened by, you don't build a following by accident.
No.
You can't just upload something and go, ta-da.
Well, I have found with my OnlyFans journey, you only get out of it what you put in.
Same as anything.
If you jump off that platform for a week, your earnings don't happen.
Really?
You can't expect to sign up and get the 120 grand that people talk about. Like,
absolutely.
You have to put the effort in.
Well, because you've got to build an audience.
You have to build an audience. You have to maintain that audience who are paying. You've got to make sure that you have fresh content. You've got to keep the ideas going. You've got to be on there, like communicating with them.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got to be on. And look, you'll have to help me with this because I'm not particularly savvy with the platform.
Yeah.
I have had some entertaining ideas in terms of probably more of a comedy exercise on that path, because I have also seen that OnlyFans is obviously working to broaden its appeal so that it's not pigeonholed into a singular form of content. And they are working, because what I am seeing, and I'm sure your Instagram account will have received it, Instagram's just rolled out subscriptions.
Yeah.
So, and I just put that on one of my bigger accounts and I just flicked that on and I went, that's interesting. Yeah. Because they know that they can get a clip of the ticket if it rolls through their platform.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so they also, so OnlyFans as a platform, acknowledge that they might have been first out of the gate, but there are some pretty big behemoths with a lot of resources coming for them. Yeah. So they need to continue to support their creators. Yeah. Because one of the challenges that I don't understand with OnlyFans is how you build an audience, because it's my understanding that you can't.
It's the forbidden fruit.
But like it's not like a search directory type. Like you can't find people because they're obviously trying to. Well, again, I say obviously, but and this is my assumption from somebody that works in digital and communications, is that they're trying to preserve the integrity of the individuals so that it's not just used as a lookup service. Yeah. I assume. This is my wild assumption. But then that means to you, the individual, you have to put an enormous amount of work to being discovered. Yes. Which I understand is, Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, like using all your other platforms. Am I broadly
Yes. No, you're
correct
absolutely.
in my understanding?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of hurdles that you have to go through because Instagram hates sexual content.
Absolutely. I've seen them do that.
Yeah, you can't use the word.
No, okay. And that's why people use the chili symbol?
Yeah. Same with TikTok.
Because I've seen it on those, because stuff comes up where it says spicy link and I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah, the reason is there's actually a law based in the US that prevents a lot of this stuff happening. I don't know. His foster sister.
It'd be age-based as well because there are people 13 and up.
And Instagram and Facebook can be held liable.
Yeah, wow.
For providing that service.
Gotcha.
So it's the responsibility because they're based on US soil.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's their issue that they're trying to work around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny because, for tax purposes, they're based in Ireland. But anyway, that's a different story.
It only works when it suits them.
Yeah, correct. It's funny how the rules change. Go, well, for keeping that off, we are in America. But for paying tax, jokes, we're in a haven.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. For getting this out there.
Yep.
How do you even start? Like, what is the starting point? Where do you even start the whole journey for OnlyFans? I mean, did you have a friend guide you through and sort of go, or you just, same as everything else you've done, you just went, oh, I'll figure it out?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Trial and error.
Should be right.
Yeah. And then I was really surprised on how I still have like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So I don't realise how many people have an eye on me, if that makes sense, even in lurking in the shadows.
Yeah.
And then when it took off, I was like, whoa, I made $8,000 in a week. Okay.
And that is, and I mean, look, that's special.
Yeah.
Particularly, and this is, I guess I've got to be, I'm very grateful to you sharing some of the harder parts of this story.
Yeah.
Because again, to only see your story from the outside, it seems like you're just blessed all the way along, and you go, and now, naturally, of course, she's just done that. But you've really worked at these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can see the consideration in each decision.
Yeah, I'm very calculated, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I can see it. You've weighed up the pros and cons of these things.
Yeah.
And you've gone, I can either work for these people that take the piss.
Yeah.
Or, I've got, you've got the skills.
Yeah.
You understand you understand how to promote yourself. You understand how to present yourself. And you've gone, there's an opportunity that exists today. And, we live in magical unicorn time. Whenever one of these platforms starts and is on a run, if you are late to that run, you miss the upswing.
100%.
Like, I'm trying to build a YouTube channel and I'm 2 years into that with 610 followers. If I had started in 2007, you could be a lot further along.
Yeah.
But I always went, oh no, I'll get there one day. And
I was like that with TikTok.
Mate, TikTok, absolutely.
I'm so mad at myself for that one.
for missing the boat on those. And I think, honestly, that explains the mayhem around things like Threads.
Yeah.
Because there's a pretty big FOMO because we've all seen that, if you catch the upswing of the new big thing, that can be a real launch point for you if, you're trying to gain, additional internet clout.
Yeah.
And so we jump on these things and then we go, because I jumped onto TikTok pretty early, but I did it badly. I was explained later and didn't keep it because it was sort of all over the shop.
It was trying to find its feet.
Yeah, it was trying to find its feet, and I just post all the stuff. And it was explained to me later as I sort of delved into it that if you don't keep it super consistent to a style, you then, because the algorithm looks at you and goes, I don't really know what you do. Yeah. Whereas if you sort of stay in a line, I actually started another one earlier this year and rocketed, managed to pick up millions of views on things because I followed that process of keeping it
consistent,
very consistent and very within scope.
Yeah.
But because you're on, the early upswing of this platform still, because I think it's still relatively early days, because it doesn't have a major competitor yet, does it?
OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's several other competitors, and there's one coming up that I have joined early on.
Are they as big a player?
Fansly?
I've seen that pop up. I've seen broadly.
Fansly is also another one. The biggest issue is finding these websites finding a payment supplier that will allow those services.
Yeah.
So like PayPal's a big no-no.
Because that's yet to be democratized as well.
Yeah.
And I've heard horrible stories of PayPal.
Yeah, they'll take your funds.
Yeah, taking people's money, which really scares people.
Oh, same with the bank though.
And exactly the same with the bank. And this is where I guess your crypto organisations, as much as they've been hammered in the last few years, that was sort of the great dream with those, was democratising access to payment transfers. Because, we as the punters at the end don't realise how hard it is to make money change hands when you've got to go through, again, the gatekeepers.
Yes. But there is another one called Slushy.
Slushy?
Yeah, it's new.
Like slushy, like,
It's like
7-Eleven.
like a 7-Eleven slushy.
Spelt? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's essentially like TikTok but R-rated.
Yeah, right, okay.
But with the same concept of subscriptions.
Yeah, so you've got to subscribe, but then you're just flicking up for spicy chilies.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But look, that makes sense in terms of the way that people consume.
Yeah.
Because that model, that flicking up vertical video, again, from my side as a professional comms person, like that's decimating everything.
It's shortening attention spans.
Yeah. Well, or the other question is, were they already short?
They were already short, but I feel like they're shorter. Like you've got like a very small window to grab someone's attention.
Whereas, do you know what's funny? We've been saying that in marketing and advertising since 19
Yeah.
So it's the same reason we got above the fold in the newspaper and we talk about 0.7 of a second when somebody lands on your website to make a decision. Like, I don't think it's changed. I think that people have just become more broadly aware.
Yeah, actually that's fair.
Because very quickly, and think about your own browsing habits.
Yeah.
If you go into a website, you're looking for something, you click, like 0.7 of a second is the time that you'll make a decision. You'll like look, and then you hit the back button.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is where it applies to me. So I have to be switched on in that sort of thing.
To understand this.
Yeah, to understand marketing myself and even to marketing myself to people who are potentially going to hire me. So that's why it's always good to have that professional, polished look.
Well, you have to.
Yeah.
But that's how all the very best, in any industry do it.
Yeah.
It is, to be the best is simply a matter of discipline and continuing to show up.
Yes.
That's actually like,
Yeah.
I've discovered that that's the whole game.
Yeah.
Of whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, keep showing up with a smile on your face.
Pretty much.
Would you believe it? You'll outlive. You do. You end up outlasting the people who think that it's easy.
Yeah. I can actually probably apply that to a lot of people that have come and go from the scene trying to do that modelling.
Totally. And you'd see it as well. Big flash
I
in
see
the
them
pan
all
and
go and go.
Yeah,
I've seen
absolutely.
them all come and go.
Whereas you've had that consistency.
Yeah.
Where, you were sort of saying you've been part of this for, that's a lot of years now.
Yeah.
And still with the same enthusiasm, I think is the other thing.
Yeah.
Is that, you're not jaded by any of these, and maybe you are, but you still turn up with that same enthusiasm.
Yeah, I have like a work persona. So I switched that on.
You can switch that on, I get you.
But I think that comes from days where I was dealing with my trauma and then going into reception where I had to leave everything behind. Like whatever I was dealing with at home, that was no longer applicable, and I've learned that. So showing up and being happy, smiley, and leaving it behind. But not just that, I've always been, I've been passionate about automotive, so it helps, if that makes sense. And then the other side of things, I've learned to be more articulate, I believe, in what I'm choosing to do. Because there was things that I was doing events-wise that didn't bring me joy. So I just don't do it. And I have that luxury now where I don't have to go to the car park meet if I don't want to.
Well, that's it. You shape your own destiny now.
Yeah.
Because you've flipped the script, I guess, haven't you?
Yeah.
Where, again, I think back and, throw your mind back to that girl who was at the mercy of, agency, model mayhem, all those sorts of things, where you really saw the tail end of the worst of it.
Yeah.
And having had that experience, to now be on the total flip side, where you have complete control, and aside from payment gateways, you have the capacity to then command what you earn from it as well.
Yeah.
That is a significant shift.
Oh, it's an amazing shift. It's so much for the better. So much for the better. Like, I don't have to wait for a phone call, for a gig, for a casting. I can just reach out to a marketing manager. I could be seen online. The opportunities are endless.
And they go, what a legend. Yeah.
And your effort you put in is rewarded.
Correct.
A lot easier than what it would have been for an agency.
And the agency would always take a big slice.
Oh, God, yeah.
Is the other thing. Do you remember the percentages of how much they would?
I think they'd charge girls out at like $120 an hour and I'd get 50.
Yeah, okay. So brutal.
Yeah. OnlyFans takes only 20%.
Yeah, 20%.
Considering.
Yeah. Interestingly, is that something that you can negotiate as that goes up, as you generate more income, or is that just a flat 20%?
That's a flat 20%. It is good because you can actually use their legal partners when leak content happens.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can send.
How does that work?
So you can send a support request with the link of where it's shown,
Oh, really? And they'll attack on your behalf.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you know who the user is, or you can work it out, you can let them know, and they'll ban the user for life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you've really got muscle in this as well.
Yeah, you got muscle.
It's so different to the vulnerable position that even creators of any sort of material, because I'm somebody that has always made videos, photos, all that sort of stuff, and I'm just used to stuff being stolen. I remember people getting real upset about it over the years, and I'm like, that's just part of it.
Yeah. And
there was no recourse. It was, again, it's the internet. It was tough shit.
Yeah.
You put it on the internet, tough shit.
Yeah.
That's for everybody.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that that's actually really wonderful.
It is good.
That you have control, but also support.
Yeah.
That's unusual.
Yeah. Especially in that field.
Absolutely, because same thing, you hung out to dry.
Yeah. It's your fault you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I believe that they embed the picture when you upload it.
Right.
So then they can track it. I'm no tech savvy person, but is it like metadata?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that image that they've taken from OnlyFans or video that they've downloaded and then have reposted it, they know where it's come from the original source. Yeah.
Well, there's a good chance that there's a signature, because when they log in, that obviously leaves a signature.
Yeah.
And then if they pull it off, it'll be under their signature. And there would certainly be a way to embed that data, the same way that when you take a photo with your mobile phone, it knows all those things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this in Facebook, but when you upload something there, it goes tree, photo, face, car.
Yeah.
If you actually look at the data of that, it's actually tearing apart what is within it and storing all that information. So it's not a very far stretch to say that they would embed the user's data.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's, that's how they easily take it down, because they're like, hey, it's ours.
Wow.
Yeah. But I deal with leakers on like a monthly basis.
Really? And because, what's your sort of subscription volume? Have you got?
$10 a month, and then I range between 180 and 200 something subscribers.
Yeah, wow. And see, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, that is amazing. And go you. I think that's fucking awesome. Again, especially from being somebody, when you've worked so hard in a role and then they basically just abuse you and say, not good enough, in your Toyota role there, where they're saying, because that was one of the things that infuriated me the most about working for other people, is how they would pull you up over the most pointless indiscretion and make a huge deal of it, but ignore all the good stuff that you do.
Yeah.
And really, they'll actually, I remember getting a formal warning because I was 15 minutes late.
That reminds me.
But not 15 minutes late, you're not being paid for that time, but you're forced to be at your desk. Yeah. And it was just company policy that you had to be seated at your desk at 8 a.m. And so I'd roll in at 8:15 as a bit of a finger to the man, because I'm not even getting paid. It's a 9 to 5 job. I'm getting paid from 9 till 5. Yeah. And you're making me work an extra hour. Yeah. And I got fucking penalised for being 15 minutes late. And I'm like, fuck you. That was precisely the moment that I would, yeah, from that day on, I didn't do anything till about 10.
I knew they were always ruthless.
So shit.
I remember one of the first times I've ever got in trouble at the dealership. I left at 4:59. I got paged on the loudspeaker on the forecourt to come back.
Are you... Fuck.
It doesn't change.
It really... And this is the worst part, is anyone you speak to's got similar shit stories.
Yeah. But they've got a union and I've never heard from them.
No. They're just collecting your fees.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sure they're helping somebody.
I've never paid it.
No. Well, you don't need that now, do you?
No.
Mate, you got that clout now.
Oh, I'm riding off the clout.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as you should.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that was 2 years ago that you sort of started that?
Yeah.
Was that,
yeah.
so you're a reasonable way into the journey
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I've had a lot of ups and downs in those 2 years.
I'll bloody bet.
Family members passing, family members getting sick. But it actually alleviated a lot of the stress so I could focus on them.
I'll bet it did, because
Yeah.
once you have the capacity to pay your bills,
Yeah.
and again, think back to that 15-year-old girl that
Yeah.
was scraping to put dollars together.
Yeah.
Once your bills are paid, you've at least got the capacity. You know, you're not trying to figure out where the hell the next dollar's coming from.
Yeah. I can make it happen.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. I feel very blessed. Very, very blessed. Like recently I've managed to do some photo shoots with different cars that never in my wildest dreams I thought I would be on. And I'm not talking Supras. I'm not talking Skylines. I don't know if you've seen. So I got to shoot with, forgive me, car nerds, if I get this wrong, a Porsche Group C 956, Porsche 956 Group C race car.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I can't correct you, I don't know.
Yeah. So it was like a Le Mans car.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So I actually got to lay on it, which,
Mate, that's wild.
yeah, like that car is worth millions.
That's so cool.
And then I just recently did a 300 SL Mercedes-Benz Gullwing.
Yeah, nice.
And then I've got a nice spicy one coming up, a Ferrari 196 SP.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Never in my wildest dreams.
See, that's awesome.
But I feel blessed. Like, I don't want anyone to think, like, I don't care what people think, but at the same time I do.
Well, you get, mate, it's...
Like, I don't take on board their negative comments, but I also do want to put out the message that, like, I've had to work for it. And not just that, I'm thankful every day. Like, I'm always been thankful. And people, I think when people know my backstory, they realise that I haven't been a silver spoon. I haven't had this fed to me. I haven't met someone that's just put all these opportunities in my lap.
No, mate, you've done this yourself.
Yeah.
And tell me, I mean, when you left your role at Toyota and you made this decision to, you know, self-publish content, again, I think of the story when you told people you wanted to, you know, be like the girls in Fast and the Furious. How did those conversations go when you told people what was happening next and you started self-publishing content and those sorts of things? How did that go?
I think people took it really well. A lot of people were in like full support of me.
That's really cool.
My work didn't believe me what I was doing. They said, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "OnlyFans, bye."
Classic. Mate, that's a pretty solid middle finger.
I was like, I'm out. Like, but they didn't believe me, and Toyota never took me seriously.
Really?
In what I did. And I was like, I have connections, man. Like, ask me. I can help you. Nah.
But dealership land doesn't work that way either.
They never took me seriously because I was a woman or that I was more so a model. And I think they always perceived that I was an airhead.
And they could never see past that stereotype that created themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was like, I was always gobsmacked about it. But previously at Nissan, my manager was always in full support of my little adventures. He'd walk around and introduce me to everyone and anyone, and he'd be like, "This is our model. This is our model." And he'd take me to Nissan events and just glorify me to everyone.
But see, that's nice. Like
it was awesome.
it's nice when you meet people that support your dreams, even if they don't necessarily, like if they don't fully get it or whatever.
Oh,
but
he
they
never
go,
did.
But they go you.
Yeah.
And like being the sort of person that lifts people up rather than the sort of person that pulls people down.
Yeah.
I guess that speaks very highly to your friends as well. If they weren't poo-pooing, you know, your ideas and the things that, because, you know, I must say I stopped telling people all the things that I'm going to do and I just, you know, make commercial decisions because quite often people just shit can my ideas. And I've always found that a difficult process, but you know the joy is as you get further down the road, you don't really care anymore.
Yeah, I think that's part of it.
And you just do it yourself. And you're like, well, I know I'm right, so fuck you. I don't even ask your opinion anymore because I'll be honest, I don't care what your opinion is.
Yeah, and I had to learn that. I used to take a lot of comments, what people would say, or what they thought, or what they did to heart, and I had about 2 years ago, before I quit, I had a really hard think about who was in my life and who was in my circle and just the sheer bullshit I see online, people tearing each other apart. I was like, nah, I've had enough of this shit. And I was like, I'll let all the ships sail and then I will only be with the ones who support me. And that helped me in that process. And especially even now in the last few months, because I've been really public about OnlyFans and myself and everything, it's been really good because I don't have that toxic negativity around me. And I feel supported as opposed to brought down. And it's all who you choose to have around you.
And that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful, conscious decision to make.
Yeah.
I did see something recently where it said all the people at the bottom are fighting with each other and pulling each other down. All the people at the top are collaborating.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that.
It's true.
Because it's oddly true.
Yeah.
Once you realise, you know, once you get over yourself and sort of go, look, this is okay, I'm just good at what I do.
Yeah.
And then you find other people that are like that as well.
Yeah.
It's very surprising how that style of person is very happy to help that style of person because, again, we all understand what it takes to make something of yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not an accident.
No. God, no.
You know, you're not doing all these things by sheer blind luck.
No.
You know, if you read the stats, your life shouldn't have gone the way that it's gone.
Oh, God, no. I think if I didn't do the steps that I have done, let's be real, I'd probably be dead.
And I didn't want to say it out loud, but that's what the stats would say.
Yeah.
You know, more likely than not, you would have died at the hands of that first partner.
Yeah. He almost did. And if I stayed, I don't think I would have survived.
No, and I'm sad to say because, again, my wife tells me the stats.
Yeah.
And she particularly advocates for, you know, assisting and supporting women in those sort of relationships.
I'm very
and getting them out. And, the stats are real bad.
Yeah.
And if they've tried once, they'll follow through.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Basically.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm very fiery about that, and I'm very vocal.
As you should be.
Yeah. So I've intervened on a neighbour.
Good.
I shoved him through a fence.
Yeah. No, but it's real bad because no one checks these people.
No one does. And this girl is forever thankful. It took her 3 years to wake up and realise, but I knocked on that door when he walked away and I offered it because I was like, I was that girl. And she was 18, 19. And I said, hey, if you need the support, I'm here. And 3 years later, she's finally left him and we're pressing charges on him. Good. And she's come to me for the help. And I will always have every person's back wholeheartedly, male or female, when they're in these situations. And I've always still got a soft spot for her and I will never forget where I've come from.
Well, you have to because those people, same as you at that earlier age, like they had no voice, they had no advocacy, nobody would listen.
Yeah.
Nobody would take them seriously.
Yeah.
And those problems perpetuate.
Yeah. And they don't know where to go or what to do because it's actually quite a procedure. Like, to place a DVO on someone, it's not as simple as just calling the police. We went up to a cop shop and they were shut. You had to make an appointment. So, like, if people aren't on, like, a part of that world, they don't understand, like, how hard it is to actually do something about it or escape. Like, you've got to pre-plan, and if you don't know how to do it, you're screwed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's terrifying, and it's something that my wife stands up for constantly because, and again, the rates that, women are murdered at the hands of their partners in Australia is, a national disgrace.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, it is a national disgrace. And it's something that, again, as she says, just, people will go, oh, isn't that tragic? And then it happens again.
I don't think people realise how often it happens prior to the news publicising it.
No, they don't. No.
Yeah.
No. And all these things, all the yucky things in our society, we sort of gloss over and we focus on the...
I do feel like we're desensitised to it now, though.
Well, we are. That's the problem because there's so much of it.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to even focus in on one thing because we see so much chaos around us in a 24-hour news cycle that it's very difficult for people in their own existence to have any concept of empathy for all these things that they also feel disempowered to do anything about.
Yeah.
And I guess this is where it's important for people who have specific experiences to at least make people aware that, you're somebody that could listen.
Yeah. I on White Ribbon Day, I always make a post about it. And it's something I've been very vocal about for anyone to reach out. It's a very tough subject with me, but I'm doing my best to be vocal and stepping up and also saying no when I see that unacceptable behaviour. It's risky, don't get me wrong, but if I see that behaviour, I'm now at a stage where I feel comfortable with myself to call it out. Whether it's just subtle or huge. And I think that's what we need to do as a society. You see your mate making some sort of snide comment that even lightly implies it, call it out. Because I can almost guarantee it's 10 times worse at home.
And that's the one there, is the you never know behind closed doors. That comment that gets thrown around. And if you see that sort of behaviour out in public, if you see people that are doing those sorts of things, odds are. Yeah,
odds are it's 10 times worse at home. I've been a massive advocate for calling out that kind of behaviour or just bad behaviour in general.
Well, that's it. Be good to each other. Yeah. Not that hard. Be kind.
Express some love.
Yeah, be nice to each other. Make people laugh.
I definitely go by the saying of try not to be a shit cunt.
Yeah, mate, no fuckwits. I've got a sticker that I've got a big fucking red thing. Fuck it. Like, they're just not welcome.
Yeah.
They're just not welcome.
And it's incredible how much your life changes.
Oh, man. When you just got good humans.
Yeah.
And you don't tolerate
bad
behaviour.
Yeah.
And you just, mate, you let those people go because they are toxic.
Yeah. Your life changes dramatically. And in the last year for me, oh my God.
Yeah. How good is it when all the people you deal with, work with, like they're just legends and you just like talking to people and you're like, yeah, what's going on? Like it's lovely.
Yeah. It's very wholesome.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And good energy. People that bring good energy.
Yeah. Definitely. It's contagious.
Oh, super contagious.
Yeah.
Because when you're around that sort of person, it lifts you up and it puts you, even if you're having a shitty day or you're, a bit down on whatever's going on, it's amazing the impact of a little bit of positivity.
Oh, yeah.
And it's why I do it. It's why I, with a smile and I try and, do your best to light up a room.
Yeah.
Because that can change the trajectory of somebody's day. It has that potential.
It does. It does. And even in yourself, like with my coping mechanisms of going to work, putting on a smile, it would change my mood. And it's a good thing.
Massively.
Yeah. And then now I'm at a stage in my life where I'm journaling. And, I had to deal with this past trauma at some point, and I have, and trying. And still to this day I do. But learning to constructively deal with it has been a blessing.
That's a big one. Because if you had probably a bit personal, but that's
no, go for
it. Have you had a chance to speak to somebody?
I've been in and out of therapy.
But like I'm a huge advocate of therapy. 100%. I'm 6.5 years in. I see somebody every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking how self-indulgent that was. But I've come to appreciate how valuable it is to building your own infrastructure to manage yourself.
Yeah.
Because oddly, I've never done anything more difficult than learning to manage myself.
That was one of the biggest hurdles I found working for myself, was I was spent so much time for myself, and that's when the walls kind of came crumbling on in.
That's how it happens.
Yeah, and I had to reassemble myself a little bit better, and I'm getting there, and every day is a journey. Every day I learn something new about myself. And therapy is a really good thing, and you're never too good for therapy.
Mate, therapy is the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah. I know people like mock it sometimes, and I'm like,
Totally
honestly,
mock it.
You don't need to have a problem to go to therapy.
No, it's great.
You can just have a yarn.
Just have a yarn. And that's the best bit. You're like, and again, sounds self-indulgent. And this is me defending it. Do you see what I'm doing here? Do you see?
Yeah.
By talking and by getting the things out of your head is actually 9/10 of the battle.
Yes.
And having someone to facilitate that, and this is the whole thing as I've got to know my therapist over the years, is they're just there to guide you. And this is the annoying part of it. You have all the answers inside you already, but you need somebody to guide you on that journey.
Yeah.
And to help prompt you
Yes.
at the right times. And, you got a few things to unpack. And that was why I thought it was interesting to ask the question.
Yeah.
Because learning those structures, and I guess that was my question to you, was, how has that been for you?
It's difficult. It creeps up on me randomly sometimes. Like, even just like triggering, but like nothing's actually triggered it. Because I've only really brushed the surface of those traumas. Like, there's a lot that's gone on. And I have to deal with it. I have to put my big girl panties on and just move on. But at the same time, I've got to look after myself. And getting therapy helps. And journaling has been the best thing. Getting those thoughts out of my head and onto paper, if I'm not if I'm not with my therapist, or just a daily debrief, soul changing. Absolutely soul changing. And I strongly recommend it for anyone. And it helps change your mindset.
Massively.
Yeah.
Because I was a good old-fashioned self-medicator. Nothing like a couple of rum and cokes to sort that out. Problems.
What are they?
Maybe squish those down. And that's the problem, is that's a terrible, terrible technique. I can speak from experience there.
Yeah.
Whereas becoming comfortable with it and being comfortable being vulnerable and being comfortable sharing those things and really not don't really care what anyone thinks about that because I know how good it is.
Yeah.
And I will advocate till the end of time for people to work on those things and to pick up the lessons. If anything could be added in schools, and I know that they're working on it because I see it with my son already, that, they spend time teaching them about like learning scaffolding techniques and understanding your thoughts and these sorts of things. There's more of that. Yeah. Whereas, we've all come up from, teaspoon of concrete and harden up. Which we have also learned is a terrible strategy.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. That doesn't work. And if we're all going to be better as a society, these are things that we have to tackle. Yeah. And you got to tackle them head on.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. Which is why a part of myself always tries to stand up. So it takes one voice to just kind of start that domino effect.
And you'd also remember what it feels like to not have a voice.
Oh, yeah. And now I just never shut up.
But that's also a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And they weren't kidding. All these people that said, you got to get her on. I'm like, they weren't kidding. Like, mate, you've got a hell of a story. And with the things that you're doing now, I mean, what's sort of your forward trajectory? What's on the to-do list as you look forward in your career? Do you sort of have a bit of a 5-year 10-year plan mapped out in terms of what's coming?
I take every day as it comes because my wildlife is always very different. But I want to keep pushing in the automotive field. I want to head over to the US and do a lot of the US shows, which I have been working on, but COVID did that. So I'm trying to jump back on that horse, get over to the US.
So like SEMA or
SEMA,
what sort of stuff?
Formula Drift.
Formula Drift, yeah.
SEMA. There's a few other shows. Hot Import Nights over there.
Yeah, okay.
Because I believe that's massive. So I want to go over there and continue to expand. Yeah.
And is the idea to maybe move there or?
No. I love Australia.
Mate, Australia.
Very proud Australian. But just going over there and experiencing the car culture over there.
And being part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then hopefully buy a house and own a cat sanctuary one day.
Buy a house and own a cat sanctuary. See, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But you've got to, you've got to have that. That's a lovely dream. I mean, I
just want to keep it humble.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to buy a house and have all my cats. No rental inspections, thanks. That's all I want. I'll be happy with that.
Well, I'm confident you'll be on a path to that. So.
Hopefully, I should be able to buy a house next year. So I'm on track. I'm on goal.
Mate, you are a machine. I'm really blown away by your story. And and look at you, you sort of shake here and you're like, oh, what?
Imposter syndrome, I'm telling you. It's a thing.
Look, it is a thing. And that's one that, again, takes a lot of work and I don't think it ever goes away. But that voice, you can tell it to shut up eventually. The imposter. Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just feel like it's just too good to be true. Like I'm just thankful. Like I just feel like where I am now, it's like, holy shit, this is me? I still see myself as the nerdy girl in high school that got picked on. Like, what? That's me. Deep down, that's me. Beyond the makeup, beyond the glamour. I'm still that nerdy geek who will just love a documentary.
What sort of documentary?
History.
War?
Yeah.
That's where all the lessons of life are.
I like and genealogy. Anything to do with DNA, bit of a sucker for.
Talk me through that.
Oh, really?
Please.
I did an ancestry DNA test, and that's kind of where the rabbit hole started. I found out my grandfather wasn't my grandfather because Grandma got around in the 60s. And I had to work out who he was because I had nothing to go off. So I had a fascination for modern history as a rule. So I just started separating like my DNA matches and then grouping them together and then working out the common ancestor and then going from there.
Wow.
I worked it out.
And you've mapped that back a couple of generations? Or?
Yeah. Yeah. Grandma's side of the family is actually the first settlers in WA. So she was part of a big famous family called the Lefroy family. And they were like, is it Henry? Henry was, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but he was the first treasurer of WA.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. It was truly fascinating. And then you keep going further back.
And that's Irish descent?
Irish. Tom Lefroy is a relative.
So related to the grog company? There's a Lefroy whiskey, but anyway.
Oh, probably. We're all related
Part
somewhere.
of the lineage.
Yeah. Well, Tom Lefroy was Jane Austen's love interest.
What?
Yeah. I went real back. So it's my little geeky little hobby. I could spend hours on archives and Trove, and if you put me in the state library, I'll be there for hours on the microfilm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But what a cool thing to piece together as well.
Yeah. And now I can do other people's. So there was a Facebook status. Someone found ashes in their basement stored away and they had a name. And I was like, give me 5. And I used my Ancestry membership to like find a common ancestor, work it all out, And I was like, this is the person you need to contact. And I contacted those people and said, hey, did you have an uncle by the name of so-and-so? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, this person on Facebook has his ashes. Do you want to, like, arrange collection?
Wow.
Yeah.
What a random message to get too from the other side going.
Oh, I know, right?
going like of all the things to leave under the house.
Yeah, like, I guess maybe someone passed away and then...
But it happens. Quite often a house gets sold with...
Yeah, with like
things
contents in
left.
it. And if it was in a basement. Like,
Yeah, just wouldn't have noticed and then gone, oh, hang on a second.
yeah. But I just went from Cemetery Records. They said he was like the sticker on the box.
Yeah.
Had the cremation.
Had the details.
Yeah. So I just went from Cemetery Records and then went from there.
Able to unpack it from there.
Yeah, and funeral notices and trove. You'd be surprised what you can find out about people, even living. Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah. It's my little nana hobby.
But I can see how you'd quickly get into that as well. The investigation side. And if you've got a curious mind to...
I think I could never recover some of the hours I've spent. In front of the computer for hours on end. Just truly fascinated.
That is super cool. Katherine, I am so grateful that you could come in here today and share your story.
I'm thankful back because I get to share.
It's the best part about doing this. Like I love talking to people. Like, and I love unpacking, human stories. And I really enjoy, the person that you see sitting here, understanding how they got to be that person. The as they'd say in a Marvel movie, the origin story.
Yeah. I'm in my villain era.
Yeah, in the villain era.
Watch out.
Watch out. I have absolutely no doubt. If people want to follow you around the internet, where can they look?
So you can find me on Instagram at Katherine Lameree. So KATHERINE LAMEREE. There's only 2 of us in the world, so you'll find one.
That's handy.
Yeah. She's my auntie and I'd hate for her to find a job.
Yeah, that'll be awkward.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not sorry.
And then you can also find me under different aliases of Conceited Kitty, which is just an alter ego of mine. So, yeah, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's all under the same name.
All the places.
Yeah, all the places.
All the places.
Unless I'm shadow banned, so then you're going to have to type the whole thing.
Yeah, that'll be harder to find.
Yeah, just type the whole thing. That's how you get around it.
And before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share, or do you think we've unpacked?
Just watch out for me.
Watch out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can believe.
Yeah, just watch out.
Big things. Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space. There's some big things coming.
Because I hear that you're also world time attacking as well.
Yes, world time attacking. I will be hot import nightsing. I'll be sexpoing because it's Love X now.
Love X.
Yes, I'll be Love Xing.
Honestly, that's probably a more palatable name for them to get away with their advertising.
That's why they did it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no more shadow bans.
No, because they'd get themselves in trouble with that.
Yeah. And then hopefully some US stuff. So.
Have you got a date yet? Have you got like
no, but I'm working
fly out date?
I'm working on it. You've got to do visas, and the US government and how they treat sex workers is deplorable. Yeah. Because they'll think you're trying to be a prostitute over there, which is highly illegal except for Vegas. But anyway. Do some research, guys.
So if you tick that box for work. Wow.
Yeah. But I strongly recommend people do some research.
So you can't just be going over there for research?
No.
Or for automotive? Or for...
Because I've got too much out there.
Yeah, okay. So they'll look you up and then they'll go, really?
Yeah.
So it's actually really hard.
It's
it's
so
hard
common
for you to go to the States.
Yeah, it's so common for girls, working girls.
Are you serious?
People talk about Michaela Tester being what was she? Detained. She's an OnlyFans girl.
What?
In the US.
What?
Yeah. But I'm in a very close knit of community of sex workers. So anything from full service girls to cam girls, etc., strippers, they have a lot of trouble getting over the US border because Border Patrol assume that you're there for sex work, regardless of what your intentions there are.
Holy crap.
And you will be detained and sent home.
What?
Yeah. You have to fly into Vegas direct. And even then you need to be on a working visa.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just sitting here stunned.
Sorry.
I didn't, mate, I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm a thing of knowledge.
Aren't you?
Yes.
But that's extraordinary. Do legal services help with that too, or?
No.
No, that's tough shit on that one. That's figure it out yourself.
It's the US government.
Wow.
Yeah. But hopefully you'll see me in the US and I don't get detained. I need to work on it properly. I have to execute it correctly.
And that's the thing, for any problems we got here in Australia, geez, the US is a mess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like to even...
That's why I'm thankful to be here.
To ostracise people over that. Yeah, because when I asked you, the natural progression for any form of model is move to Hollywood life.
I would think of nothing worse.
But for that, wow. Yeah, it's very strange, isn't it?
Yeah, strange world. But I'm sure you will.
It just makes no sense, though, that they get, like, of all the things to pull people up about.
It's still a commonly discriminated profession. That's all.
And see,
people and their assumptions.
And that's the thing, the year 2023, mate, you can like, whatever you want. I think we've all realised that nothing matters.
No.
So whatever you're going to do it with a smile and, get on with it.
Yeah.
Leave people alone. If you're not hurting people, like, if you're bringing a bit of good, bit of joy to the world.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, but look, interestingly, I'm glad you shared that because I didn't realise. I'm totally...
Yeah, I like to bring awareness about that because it's just shocking.
It is.
It is. People don't realise how often it happens. They saw it happen with one influencer, but they don't realise how often it truly does happen.
Because you look at how people jump up and down about, all forms of discrimination, but that's discrimination that we're okay with, apparently.
Oh, discrimination against sex workers is so infuriating and common still in this day and age.
But is that just discrimination against women packaged up a different way?
No, I feel like there's a different... It's more about get a real job. Do the real thing. Do the honest hard work. I'm like, I'm sorry, but my best friend's an escort. Working 12-hour shifts for herself, entertaining someone, or, that's hard work.
But it's work.
It's work. She pays her taxes. She probably pays more taxes than you.
Yeah.
So it's still work.
And that's the thing. If we're going to decide, you can't champion in one cause while tearing down another.
Yeah. Like, it's still work. Like, what do you mean?
See, there's a long way to go, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I've been loud and proud about it. And I'm going to continue to be loud and proud about it. I did it at Jamboree. I do it on my socials because I was sick of hiding it and I was sick of getting discriminated against. So some of the brands have embraced me and then some of them haven't. So, I mean, that's their loss.
And that I was going to say that's their loss.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because
that just shows.
Given what a professional you are, how well-spoken you are, as you sort of alluded to recently, you said, your capacity to articulate, you are very well-spoken, very composed. Like, you're exactly the sort of person that is fantastic in a frontline brand position.
Yeah.
Amazing. And also, you can handle whatever crap gets thrown at you because you've dealt with all those sorts of things and you can do it professionally with a smile and you won't be bringing anything into disrepute. Like, I think that you've got a phenomenal capacity.
Yeah.
To do what you do and to represent and represent well.
Yeah.
Because again, you understand the professional requirements.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to sit there and promote adult services to children, but that's what they seem to think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just irresponsible. It doesn't matter even if you are or you aren't.
Yeah.
But I've been discriminated against that for all the time. All the time. Brands won't accept you for it. But I'm like, that just shows we're still in that era.
We're still
but
there.
We're pushing, and Renee Gracie is honestly making moves against that.
Oh, absolutely. And she's the one that has, I see that she's really at the forefront, I guess, of that fight.
Oh, yeah.
And because doing it so visibly, and then also being, well, I can't even think of a nice way to say it, but basically just being cut out. Like the way that she's not shown on the telecasts and these sorts of things. Like she's basically being boxed out. But I've seen a groundswell of support for her because of that. Because people go, well, hang on a sec. Hang on. Like, okay, we get that. Like all the things and whatever and however you feel about that. But she's a competitor. On the one hand, we say we're championing women in sport. But you can't then say, oh, but not like that. You can't say we want women in sport, but then go,
no, not like that.
No, sorry, we just changed the rules.
No. Oh, we don't like that.
Yeah, we don't like that. Not that way.
Not that way.
Not that way. Do it the other way. Do it the repressed way.
Yeah.
Do it the way where you don't have any advantages.
Make sure your skirt is precisely 3 inches below the knee. Not above. Jeez. You know, it's just ridiculous.
Mate, power to you.
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you so much.
No worries.
And thank you for, sharing so openly. And I'm really grateful for that. I really appreciate it. As somebody I'm just meeting today, I really appreciate you taking the time and, being, I guess, open and vulnerable and confident enough to share all these things with me today. And, with the people that are listening, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Well, on that note,
all right,
Catherine, I look forward to all the wonderful things ahead. See you at World Time Attack.
See you there.
For everyone listening, catch you next time.